Hello there, and welcome back to the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. As you know, my name is Nicole, and I'm so excited to be here. How do you go professionally? You go by Elle professionally? Is that what I can call
Yeah.
you?
Yes.
Okay, so
Elle.
introducing you to Elle. Yes, so Elle, one of my, when I think Jessica was here, I was like, I feel like she's one of my sorority sisters, right? Because we're all in the same
Oh,
coaching group. And so we get to hang out every week with our coach. And so Elle is a branding expert and she's got some opinions, and I love her opinions. So I'm gonna let her take it away. Well, go ahead and
awesome.
please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and who you help.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And likewise, I love hanging out with you and in our little pod with Brittany. My name is Elle, and I'm founder of Scorpio Soul Studio. And I use my client's birth chart to create a completely bespoke brand. I usually am helping female entrepreneurs in the online space, anyone from online coaches, business astrology experts, uh, real estate agents, the list goes on. But basically, anyone who's looking for a brand that they know is aligned with essentially the blueprint of their soul that you can find in an astrological birth chart.
Oh, I love that. Tell me more. So like if I wanted to be your client, what would I bring you? Like just bring you my birthday and then you come up with something for me?
Yeah. So I look at in order to generate a birth chart, you need your birth date and time and location. And that comes up with a yes. Did
Is
you
that
raise
like
your hand because you have a question?
yeah, I did. I was just gonna say,
Okay.
is it similar to like human design? Like if I have a human design chart, would I bring that to you, or is it something different?
Human design, my understanding of human design is that it is a conglomeration of 6 or 7 different systems, astrology being one of them. So there are some overlaps between astrology and human design. Um, Astrology tends to deal, at least I I'm not going to say anything about human design because I don't know. I don't. Can I curse?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know
go
jack
for it.
about human design other than I'm a generator, and I feel like that's just a profile for anyone with ADHD. Um, but yeah, astrology is gonna help you it's like a forecast, not a predictor. So the same way like you can forecast the weather, but you're not predicting that it's going to be 12 inches of snow, you know? Um, so astrology is a little bit more like a map, a suggestion, an explanation for why things might be the way that they are, and uh, sort of helping you understand. It's not a sentence. It's not a curse. It's not oh well, I'm an Aries, so I'm always going to be hot and mad and short tempered all the time. No, no, no. That's not, you don't get to use it as your reason or your excuse. Um it's a guide. I like to say that your birth chart is like a map back home to yourself. So um I will look at your birth chart, and there are certain points that I look at, different planets, different astrological points like the ascendant and the MC, the medium coeli or mid heaven. Um, and I sort of alchemize all of that information into colors and fonts and imagery in order to create a branding profile that is completely unique to you. And the thing that I'm really excited about is I will be incorporating very shortly the work of my astrology mentor, Vanessa Corazon. Um, she has done a ton of research for her certification, and one of the modules is star brands, where she collected information, the birth charts of over 100 different brands, I believe, over the course of history, and basically came up with like reverse engineered the branding for like all of the different planetary placements, and like looking at something like the Venus, the sign that your Venus is in, can be a very strong predictor of like what color product you sell. Like it's insane the amount of detail and systemization she was able to come up with, because the way that brands express themselves through history, because I mean, she's looking at things like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, like long-standing, companies that have been around for a very long time. So there's a large body of information that she's been drawing from, and the way these different companies behave in the market, the problems that they solve, the story arcs that they have, like the archetypes that they speak to, all of that stuff has remarkable consistency when you look at the date that the company was founded. So you don't even need the birth time. You just need the birthday and place, and you can get the birth chart for the company. And so I'm going to be utilizing her system, which I wasn't mad at the way that I was doing it before. And obviously, like, I'm going to be bringing my own special sauce to her information, but I'm really excited to be able to tell people that like my methodology is based off of such robust research. And then if someone is like, that's a lot, and I'm just starting out and I would like something to be a little bit more accessible, I do have a selection of semi-custom brands that are basically, I'm calling the collection the House of Icons. And they are semi-custom brands that are based off of the birth charts of Chanel, Hermes, Van Cleef and Arpels. So like these really big expensive brands that we all know and love, or love to hate, depending upon who you are. And yeah, so if you'd like to like slip on something else for your brand that's maybe not exactly you, but a little bit more price accessible because it is a semi-custom brand, those options will be available as well. I'm really excited to be rolling those out really soon. They should be out by the time this airs. So.
Cool. That is amazing. And that's so fun. To be able to play like that with your brand and to be able to match it with the vibe of, some existing companies. So that is amazing. Now, tell me, like, do you have some, because this is big, right? Like this is very personalized what you're talking about and using the
Mm-hmm.
birth chart. But what about like branding advice that our listeners can implement like right now? Like I know, for example, one of the posts that we bonded over was branded links, and we bonded about this on a call. Like it's so simple to have branded links. So can you give me some other examples of what we can do to, really solidify our brand as we're posting the social media and doing all the other things?
Yeah, so that would be one thing I would highly recommend is the branded links, just to let people in on what Nicole and I were geeking out about, is just the ability to use your own domain for basically any and everything that you might be sending your audience to. And you can do that either using a subdomain or a slug. So the subdomain is where the www usually goes in your web address. So if my homepage, for instance, would be www.scorpiosoul.studio, I could have a subdomain that is the brand grimoire.scorpiosoul.studio, or the quiz that I host is going to be Scorpio Soul Studio, or yes, studio / so that's your slug as after the / quiz, right? So and that's instead of whatever platform you might be using, whether it's like MailChimp or Kajabi or wherever you're hosting your stuff, whatever platforms you're
Linktree.
utilizing. Yeah, a link tree. You can make your own link tree. If you have a website with a domain, like you can make, it's just buttons. That's all it is, guys. It's buttons optimized for mobile. That's all. That's all it is. And I think the biggest thing that I'll start with the biggest mistake and then where to direct people. So the biggest mistake I see people make is obsessing over a logo. They go like, oh, well, I'm going to start this business. I have this idea. This is the name and I need a logo. And then they'll go to like Fiverr or someplace and like ask for a logo for cheap, or maybe they'll design it on Canva. No, there's no hate there, but like the problem is starting there. Like, get it. If you want to go to Fiverr and get your logo, fine. However, don't start there. Great brands start with solidifying their messaging. So I explain branding in 3 different spheres. The very first one that you want to nail out is your verbal branding. So that's messaging. It's identifying things like your brand archetypes. What's your story arc? What's your what are your values? I have a really great exercise that I take my clients through called the it's developing your word bank. So it's going through and identifying words that are aligned with your brand that also score very highly on headline analyzer tools, so that when you're writing copy and you're writing like in the headline section of your website, and also maybe the hook for your social media posts, you can utilize this certain set of words that score very highly on emotional headline analyzer tools. So you basically have this like branded vocabulary that becomes like your capsule wardrobe almost of language. I'm not a copywriter, but I think that it's really important that people kind of own it's like curating your visual assets before giving before asking a web designer to put together all of the bells and whistles of your website. You should have a good idea of what your brand voice sounds like before you even hire a copywriter. And I'm saying all of this, it's the long version of like, you need to get your messaging down, like decide who you are, what you're about, your message, your mission, and your motivation before you even go into the visuals, because the visuals are what represent the mission, the message, and the motivation. And if you haven't decided that stuff, what is your logo representing? It's like a giant question mark, right? So all of that is to say, you do your verbal branding, your visual branding, because the visual branding represents the verbal branding visually. And then you can move into kinesthetic branding, which is making an intentional decision about how your clients are moving from strangers to friends to clients to hopefully referrals or repeat customers, so on and so forth. Your brand is the experience that a client has of you and your product. And I always use the example of Lush, for instance, Lush Cosmetics. You can usually smell that place. Like if you go to the mall, you can smell it like 5 doors down. They're so good about creating a consistent experience. It's not just the visual branding of like the chalk writing on the black background. That very specific font has, it carries a lot of meaning, right? It's very sort of like question authority, um, not your mainstream. I mean, they sort of are mainstream at this point, but when they first started, it was like a rebel punk
Mhm.
brand. And even their hiring process, it's like that everyone seems to have a very similar personality that works there. You have a very consistent experience when you walk in. The people are very helpful. There's usually some sort of bath bomb demo going on. Sometimes it feels like chaos a little bit, but it's just that's Lush. That's the brand.
Mhm.
It's the experience. And another way that I explain branding is it's like throwing a party where everything from the type of invitation that you send all the way to, okay, are you serving pizza or are we having surf and turf, like sit down formal, um, are you sending out hand calligraphy envelopes or are you going with paperless post or is it like a mass text to all of your friends? Like what's the invitation, what's the music, if there was a theme to your party, what would the theme be? So if you can think of your business like throwing a party for your audience, all of those little details, and for anyone who's got kids, right, with those themed birthday parties, I mean, some of them are like really over the top, but that's exactly the type of detail that you should have when curating an experience for your clients, and that's branding.
I love that. Speaking of the birthday party, I went to a branding challenge and she said, okay,
Ooh.
first think of a kid's birthday party. And she's like, all right, what do you think of? And then she put up on the screen, it was all primary colors like reds, yellows, blues, greens, and like, polka dots and rainbows and just colorful, right? And then she said, okay, now
Mm-hmm.
think of a princess party. What do you think of?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're thinking pinks and like, like streamers and purples and castles. And then she said, okay, good. Now, what if I told you that it's a Cinderella party? And now everything is blue. It's like this light blue and the white and the gold with the touches, the little touches of gold with the glass slippers. And so I think that was such a great analogy, just like you mentioned. Like, is it a kid's birthday party? You're not gonna write calligraphy for like a 1-year-old's party, probably, right? Hopefully. But I remember that when my stepmom was getting married to my dad, every night she would come home from work and she had this whole thing where she was writing out the invitations and one by one, like
Oh,
not the
bless her
actual
heart.
invitations, but
Ooh.
writing out all the names, Mr. and Mrs., with the address
Mm-hmm.
and like on the inside the return envelopes. And if she messed one up, she'd tear it up and go and start over again. And so it
Oh,
makes so much sense. That is a much higher end event than a kid's birthday party that's going to be like 2 hours and we're going to cut some cake and they're not even going to remember it. Right. So what
yeah.
do you think about that as far as a birthday party analogy?
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, it's the colors. It's, are we doing petit fours or are we doing, I don't know, what's an answer to that? Some type of cake, tres leches? I don't know.
Yes, oh my god, I love tres leches.
Like tres leches and tacos, ceviche. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's going to be a totally different party than, pizza. And I'm trying to think of like the most ridiculous dessert, like tasty cakes,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, like hot dogs and a
So
cupcake, a store-bought cupcake,
yeah, but it is, and then the other thing is that it also sets expectations. So these
Yes.
different touch points, um, are setting expectation for the next touch point. And when those touch points are inconsistent, that's when you lose people. And that's part of the reason why branding is so important, is that it does build trust. When I can't tell you how many times I've, for instance, clicked on an ad off of Facebook, and like I'll go back on my phone and be like, huh, wait, did I click on something else? Did my finger slip? Because the website will be so different from the actual ad. And I'm like, what? It's like an energetic like whiplash, you know? So the visual consistency, the linguistic consistency, making sure that the words that you're using from one page to another, from one platform to another, are all in the same. I mean, obviously, you're not like necessarily copying and pasting everything and saying the same phrase over and over again. But one thing, for instance, is making sure that you have the same profile picture from, and I need to take my own advice on that, but from one platform, social media platform, to another, so that when someone lands on, maybe they find you randomly on Instagram, but they don't really spend a lot of time there, so they'd rather follow you on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and then they go looking, and maybe you have all of your links spelled out on your social page or whatever. You want to make sure that like the profile photo is the same across all of your platforms. It's that consistency and congruency that will allow people to continue to follow you across platforms, build trust, make people feel safe because they're not getting energetic whiplash. So, yeah.
Yes. And to your point about repeating things, that was another one of your posts that I was very passionate on. Um, because I got the chance to work with a celebrity, and this person had millions of followers. And
Ooh.
if there's one thing that you learn is repeat yourself, repeat yourself, repeat yourself. Copy and paste that junk. The top of the page, the middle of the page, the bottom of the page. Because it's so important, because people read, like we assume when we get on a website, we're like, oh, well, I'm gonna write the first thing here, and that's the first thing a person's gonna read. But psychology tells us that's not how it works, right? Like there's even little memes about how someone will look at this heading and then this heading and this heading, and you follow like a certain order. And we have to think about those things and make sure that we are putting information in all of those relevant places. We cannot assume,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they saw that in the heading. No, they didn't. I promise you. When maybe if you three people are seeing your website and like they're looking through it, but I promise you, when you put it out and a lot of people see it, they're gonna ask you so many questions about stuff that you've already written. So yes, best advice ever is repeat, repeat, repeat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. So
If you don't feel redundant, you haven't said it enough.
I love it. Yes, yes. So tell us, how do we stay in touch with you, Elle?
Well, I would love for you guys, because it is one of the first steps in solidifying your brand, is identifying an archetype for your business. I do have a quiz that takes you on a magical journey to find your tarot archetype. And so that is at Scorpio Soul. And that is like the sun in Spanish, not like alma. It's not the soul inside of us. Scorpio Soul Studio /quiz. And yeah, you can go ahead and find me there.
Yes, and social media. How do we follow you on social media?
Ay, Dios mío. I will probably have to get you a link, because my Instagram is shamefully not very well developed yet, because I did just do a rebrand myself. But yeah, H Elizabeth Romslow on Facebook. I'm a little bit more active there. So I will make sure that you have the links. They'll be in the show notes
Yes,
for
down
anyone
below.
who's listening.
Awesome. All right. So, final tip. What's like that big aha moment, that tip that you give your clients that just like that this is where all the money went. Like this is the good the good shiz.
Um, I have a habit of finding myself in a situation with branding clients where we go through some kind of transformation. And maybe the transformation is more accurately described as a an exiting of a cocoon. I'm sort of birthing the new version of that person. And what that usually is from, like what I see often is people hiding behind their brand. People, especially women, tend to put so much energy into, oh, well, this is my business. And like I have the name for my business and I have my, my signature system and I have, this and that, and like there's a name for this and there's a whole bunch of stuff that isn't them. It's like it's a mask that they're wearing. And a lot of times the easiest, not the not, let me take that word back. A lot of times the most basic thing, the most simple thing is stepping into who you are as the service provider and just owning your name as your brand. I feel like that is one of the things that people tend to be a little bit scared of doing. We have to remember that people follow the person, they don't follow the thing. So if you should happen to shift interests, shift your services, so on and so forth, if you make your business only about the one thing, if you shift, it is starting over. But if you make it about you and what you bring to the table, people will follow you from one endeavor to the next. And I think that's the thing that I want to help more, especially women, understand. I would like to save as much wisdom as possible. I want to see as many women as possible be able to share their wisdom and not let something like branding be the reason that they feel insecure about showing up online. I want to give women a brand they want to brag about, even to their family, um, so that they can shout their message from the rooftops in an empowered and confident way.
Yes, I love it. And I think the most important part of that is we build it, right? So if you start off with your name and you're like, well, who is that? Like nobody knows who that is. Well, that's where all this work is going to you build that up with you building your authority and showing up and your messaging and all the things that you mentioned, like your
Mm-hmm.
verbal branding, your visual branding, all of that you build it by sharing it, right? And then getting on like what you're doing right now, getting on my podcast and be like, hey, this is me,
Yeah.
this is what I do,
Yeah.
hit me
Hi.
up.
Nice to meet you.
Right? So I love that
And
so much.
yeah, I am hearing all of the people that are listening to this be like, yeah, but, and like paralysis. Make the decision. Just make a decision and move on. You can come back and revisit and edit and breathe new life. I mean, you should be doing rebrands periodically. Do not let FOMO keep you from actually doing anything. So many times people are like, oh, well, if I like if I decide to speak this way about this one thing, I'm going to leave all of these other, like it's fear of missing out on potential clients. And then that fear of missing out on potential clients means you don't say jack shit and you miss out on all of the potential clients.
Get out there. And you don't know what I like to remind my clients is you don't know the right questions to ask until you start doing. Like you don't even know, you don't even know what you don't know. And so until you don't start doing it, you can't really make a decision because you have no idea what you're deciding. So that's a big deal. But thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here with us today, Elle. This has been
Thank you for having
amazing.
me.
Yes, of course. And like she said, all of her links that she mentioned are going to be down below. Make sure you go on that website, take your brand archetype quiz, and connect with Elle and see how she can help you elevate your brand so you can get your message out there and I guess overcome yourself like the podcast is called. So,
Yes. Love it. Love the
yeah.
title of that podcast.
Thank you. Is named after my book. And so thank you for being here, Elle, like I said, and we will catch you guys next time on the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Bye.